Yeah, so my name is Sukh, and I head up the SEO department at Anicca Digital. I've been at Anicca for coming up to 6 years, I think, maybe slightly more. Lost count of it, to be honest. I head up the SEO department, so I spend 50% of my time doing hands-on SEO work on some of our technical and larger sort of clients, e-commerce, lead generation, international SEO, website migrations, that kind of work, and the other 50% managing the department, working on, sales with Angela, doing R&D, working on Anicca's marketing and a bunch of other things, working with my colleagues. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and thanks for sticking around for this talk. So this is an introduction to SEO. So I'm just going to start my timer because I'm really bad at staying on track. I've added quite a lot of slides in my deck because I wanted to have a lot of stuff for you guys to take away. So I've labeled a few slides as homework. So you can sort of, if you bear with me, I'll focus on the key things that I need to mention that's worth me mentioning in the talk, and I'll skip over a few slides that need a little bit more in-depth talk and work that's needed on those slides with your colleagues and SEO and web developers. Bear with me a second as well. I'm just going to mute my notifications. Cool. Okay. Yeah, Jess's laptop is currently broken. So yeah, I'll fill in the gaps here. So cool. Let me just start then. So introduction to SEO. What I'm going to be focusing on is the basics. So introduce the concept of SEO and what it looks in practical terms. So in your day-to-day life, the things in the search results that you can sort of start noticing that are the result of SEO work. I'll specifically focus on the different elements of SEO, on-page, off-page, and technical. And I'll give some kind of practical examples of how you can impact the different elements of SEO yourself versus the elements that you'll need a bit of help on from, web developers and content writers. And then I'll end it with how to monitor all of this work that you put into SEO. So yeah, quick intro. So Anicca for coming up to 6 years. We're doing SEO for 11 plus years. I think it's 12 now. Graduated from DMU doing a technical course, doing a bits of web development and creative stuff. Did web development for 2 or 3 years before SEO. So I'm kind of in a weird position where I could do a lot of the tech heavy projects as well as the general SEO strategy projects. Yeah, I mentioned the kind of projects I work on, and I upload annoying Fitbit pictures on Instagram. So the basics of SEO. So to sum up, SEO or search engine optimization is essentially us optimizing your online presence, which could be your website or a Google My Business platform, which I'll explain a bit later, to, oh God, every time I mention Google, my phone lights up. Let me just turn this off. So we're optimizing your online presence to essentially appear for a user's search query. So if someone is searching for your brand or service or product, we're trying to get you above your competitors, and we're trying to display you in a way that entices people to click through to the site. And we drill that work down right down to driving as many inquiries or sales as possible. So all of our SEO work, which is a combination of on-page, off-page, and technical, is driven towards your KPIs. And just to show you a practical example, if you're familiar with Google Analytics or similar tool, Ed sort of went through the new version of this earlier, when you see the different traffic going to your website, you can basically see organic traffic or organic search. That is essentially what we're impacting for the most part with our SEO work. So if we drill down into the different areas of SEO, we've got technical, on-page, and off-page. So technical SEO is essentially the first area that we look at when we start a new SEO project. So it's essentially us focusing on the back end of your website to make sure that all of this great content that you're producing or you're going to produce is being seen by Google in the first instance and being seen correctly by Google and users. So we're working on things like, for example, how fast do your pages load? Are they visible on mobile, tablet, and desktop? Is the content easy to read? Is there a lot of code in the back end that is preventing Google from seeing the really good content? And there's a host of other issues that we tackle in technical audits at the start of campaigns and throughout. We would then move on to on-page SEO, which is, I'll show you some examples in a bit, but it's essentially optimizing topics and keywords and your brand so that they appear above competitors in the search results. So we're using your web pages to mention these keywords in content that users will find useful, as well as Google, with the sole intent of getting them to appear high in search results. We then focus on off-page SEO, which is essentially building trust within Google. So this is basically made up of different votes of confidence by external websites in the form of links pointing back to your site, with each vote saying, we're an established brand around this topic that these other guys are also talking about. We link to these other guys' websites, which is basically saying we trust these guys enough to link to them. So we recommend them as a valued search result for your algorithm. So Google will see these different links or votes of confidence, link it back to your site, and it will consider ranking you guys higher as a result. So just a practical look at the different search results and how the different elements or areas of SEO impact them. So we're looking at local SEO to start with. So if we do a local search for, say, Conference Centre Leicester, you will see a combination of obviously paid results, which is usually taking up the first half of the page before you scroll. And then as you scroll down, you will see what's called a local pack, a local list of results that are unique to your location. So this is impacted by what we call local SEO. And I've got a talk this afternoon specifically on an intro to local SEO. I've made a note there saying Google My Business. This is in reference to a free platform that Google provides you called Google My Business, where you can register your website and all of your contact details and business details. And it lets you control to an extent how you appear in this local pack. So this is very useful, and we'll go more into that this afternoon. We then look at organic SEO results. So Conference Centre Leicester again, you scroll further down on that same example result, and then you'll see the organic results labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. These results you can impact with on-page and off-page SEO. So as I mentioned earlier, repeating your keyword mentions and your brand mentions and doing what's called NAP optimization, something I'll reference in more detail this afternoon in the local SEO talk. And then image SEO. So this is becoming more prominent these days than before, where people are more and more focused on image results, particularly if they're doing like specific searches, like I'm interested in this tourism spot or something that's lends itself to an image result. We can impact these by optimizing images on websites and external websites like directories, where you're able to create a posting page, a profile page, and list images for your business. We can optimize these in specific ways. So in sticking with the introductory part of SEO, what SEO really drills down to is SEO ranking factors. So these ranking factors are essentially a list of SEO elements that we can impact in order to appeal to Google to rank us higher and drive more organic and qualified organic traffic to your website. So in a nutshell, I'll list a couple of examples to stay on track. One of the ranking factors, which is quite strong, is backlinks. So I mentioned these earlier as votes of confidence. So if your website is talking about a certain topic, let's say garage doors, I always use that example. I wish I could be more creative with that. If you've got another local based website that is in the trade industry or a car garage or similar, and they list your website as a trusted kind of partner to refer their customers to, that's seen as a vote of confidence and a local vote of confidence, which can help local SEO rankings. So that's a very strong ranking signal, and we actively work on driving backlinks to our content through targeted content marketing. Another signal is page speed. This will become more important this year and moving forward, because there's a Google algorithm update coming up in May called Core Web Vitals, which focuses on how fast your pages load, as well as how quickly your users can engage with that page. So I'll send a link out for that after this talk. So that's another key ranking factor we look to improve with our technical SEO audits. And essentially what we're doing is we're trying to balance these ranking factors. So in a typical project, ideally, we want to hit all of these ranking factors. So we want to improve backlinks, page speed, your content depth, and how mobile friendly your pages are. But realistically, some campaigns might be limited by resources in terms of developers and also budgets. So we might find ourselves balancing these out, where if we can't impact page speed, for example, then we're going to make sure we impact, content depth, or vice versa. So we're trying to balance as many ranking signals as possible in order to do something different to your competitors to rank higher than them. So on to on-page SEO. This section is quite longer than the others because you can impact this a lot more, having control of a content management system and uploading content. So on-page SEO is essentially taking the breaking down the topic of the products or services you're offering, and drilling them down into keywords that people are likely to search. So it's having to think about your audiences and their search intents and what they're likely to search for, and then catering for that search intent with listing these keywords in your content, producing content that people are likely to read and engage with. And here's a quick process of how your content is used during the process of Google considering to rank your pages. So Google has a program called Googlebot, aka a spider, which essentially follows links across the webs to discover landing pages and what content is optimized on those landing pages. So Google is discovering these pages constantly, and then it makes a quick decision on whether to store your page in its database for later consideration on serving you as a search result. So it will consider you, store your page in its database or index, and then a user will search for a topic related to what you're talking about, and then Google's algorithm kicks in. So it goes to its index or database and figures out, okay, this person is searching for this topic. I know this website offers content on this topic. How well is this website optimizing for this content? Is it duplicating the content? Does the page load quickly enough for the user to bother with engaging with it? So it goes through all these different ranking signals in its algorithm. And then when it considers your page a valuable resource to serve, then it will serve it in its search results. And even then, on the search results page, we have control and we can impact people clicking through to the website, because we can optimize the content in a way that provides all your unique selling points and call to actions to encourage people to click through to the page. So we're doing work and impacting each stage of this process. Yeah, just a quick look on the chat. There is this slide deck is uploaded as well. So, and that goes into a bit more detail. So I should probably do a better job of skipping over this and focusing on the main bit of these slides to stay on track. So focusing more on content now. So I've done this little screenshot to show you how important content is in the process of guiding users to key landing pages and towards your KPIs. So this content and in-depth engaging content impacts all the different channels of marketing. So our content marketing and content writers play a part across all the different departments in providing content. Essentially, if you build it, they will come. So if there's content worth reading and visiting, it engages users, it encourages them to click through and build links towards that content and share it on social and do social advocacy, etc., and do digital PR. So it has a place in all of these different channels. So here's a couple of quick examples. I might have just stuck to one just for the presentation version on-page SEO, and how a user's search result for a medication has been driven by how well that page is optimized. So on the left, there's a search result for this product. And then on the right, here's a landing page that is served right at the top. And on this landing page, you'll see the keyword that the person searched for highlighted in various spots in the page. So this is just a basic example of how optimizing content on this website has helped serve that search result at the top there, and the way that they've written their title and description tags on the bottom there shows you that is written in a way that encourages people to click through. So it's got all the key information there that someone wants to quickly look up and click through. Here's a homework slide. So what I've done on this slide is essentially listed the different elements that make up that optimized page and how you can impact them. So if you work with an SEO, if you've got an in-house person or an agency or a content writer, or if you want to work with us, you can impact your landing pages by optimizing these different areas to start with. So you're essentially, adding mentions of your topic or keyword in combination with your brand to encourage Google to serve this page at the top of the search results. So I'll just skip over this because it's quite dense there. And here's another homework slide you can look at where I've also listed some additional actions around on-page SEO tasks that you guys can impact yourselves or in collaboration with a content writer or an SEO consultant. So you'd basically have to define your audience and your KPIs and search intents at the start, to then do some keyword research around that criteria, using that as a brief, and then you're optimizing your landing pages in a way that encourages Google to serve you as a search result right at the top, and to encourage users to click through from the search results to your landing pages. So off-page SEO. So what is this? So I mentioned this earlier. Off-page SEO is made up of backlinks pointing to your site. So it's the work done around encouraging and building backlinks to point to your site. Again, these backlinks are votes of confidence, and they are in the form of hyperlinks, so literally clickable links going to your site. The other part of off-page SEO is made up of citations, which are essentially, they work in the same way as links in that they are votes of confidence, but they are mentions of your brand and or products and services. So for example, if someone mentioned Anicca Digital, SEO and content marketing, that's essentially a citation on an external website mentioning our brand and our services. So that works, is second best to a link in that it's a vote of confidence, and they're more easy to get because people are less and less willing to add backlinks to other websites because they know they're valuable and they're monetizing them or trying to get a favor in return. So I've shown another example of a page that's ranking and why it's ranking, but this time I'm focusing on what backlinks it's got. So I've done a quick Google search there on the left, clicked on that result and dissected it using a backlink checking tool. So in that tool, it's telling me that this page is ranking because it has a domain rating, which is a score out of 100 in these backlink tools, which tells you how valuable these pages are to Google. It's got 80 out of 100, which is really good because the average website is between 30 and say 40 or 50. So that's really good. So that's one reason why it's ranking. And if you drill down further, it's got 27 individual domains or websites linking to that page. Within those 27, it's got 40 backlinks. So for example, if you've got 1 out of 27 of those domains linking, that one domain might have several links on that. So that's why the number of backlinks is higher than the number of referring domains. So this is, in a nutshell, why this particular search result is ranking, because they've got good backlinks. And if we drill down further, I've shown another example of a backlink profile, which is a list of websites linking to a website. You can see there I've highlighted the high authority or high domain rating websites. So we do this kind of stuff in our audits to determine what kind of people are linking to this client. Are they good links? Are they bad links? What can we do to improve these backlinks? Can we contact them and say, hey, can you mention the brand a bit better? Yeah, I do have a list of tools as well on that. This tool is called Ahrefs. They've got a free version of a backlink checker, which is limited to a certain amount of results, I think 10 to 20, but it's a premium tool that we pay for as well. So we can help you with some data on that. Sticking with link building, here's an example of some actions you can do on your website now. And this is around internal linking. So we talked about external links, but we also need to work on our internal links and how our pages link to each other. So if you're talking about different topics on your website and you've got a service page on the topic and also supporting content in your blog, what you need to be doing is linking from your blog pages back to your service page, because that's telling Google all of these pages relate to this top level page talking about this topic, which is our money page. We're trying to, all the work we're doing is to drive people to the purchase funnel through our supporting content, as well as telling Google we're an authority on this topic. We'll show you that by telling you we're linking between all these different pages, all talking about this topic. So that example there is a rough example of how you can link between pages in a hierarchy to highlight a topic that you're an authority on. So apologies for the slight formatting issues there, but essentially I've got a little homework sheet for that as well, where there's a list of actions you guys can perform to start with, to start working on your off-page SEO. So a couple of these are, again, I mentioned this tool that we use called Ahrefs. There are other tools as well, but this is proven to be a really good one and good value for money for us. It has a lot of reports in it if you pay for it. And as I said, there's a free version there that shows you a list of 10 or 20 results of all the links pointing to your site. So we essentially would do a backlink audit, run your website through a tool, see what kind of people are linking to you, good and bad. Come up with some ideation. So look at your competitors as well. What kind of links are they getting, particularly the ones that are ranking above you? You know, we would dissect the work they've been doing around content marketing and link building. Form a strategy, content marketing and PR strategy, because digital PR helps backlinks quite a lot. And then we would come up with a content marketing strategy and an editorial calendar where we're going to be leveraging content and other marketing channels to encourage people to link and do citations towards your website. So my timer is quite distracting there. And there are some other actions on there that I can go into more detail if you do some Ask Anicca questions on that. So I just want to then talk about technical SEO as well. So technical SEO, and this side of SEO is you tend to find more quick fixes with technical SEO, because it's you're basically able to make changes on a website that affects the whole site. So if we see a lot of issues to do with, say, duplicate content, or there's code that's blocking the way Google crawls and indexes your good content in your blog section, for example, we're able to make changes for the most part on a website that in template files that will impact the wider website. So you tend to get a lot of quick fixes with technical SEO, which is why we do technical audits right at the start of a campaign. We basically want to make the most use of a client's time as possible, get the most value out of it. So again, going back to this process that Google goes through of finding and ranking your pages, this is where technical SEO fits in. So at the crawling stage, technical SEO impacts that heavily, because we can decide what Google sees on our website in order to then crawl it. So if you've got a bunch of pages that you don't want users to see, like login pages or like admin pages and things like that, we can block Google from seeing that. So it spends its limited amount of time every time it visits your site to focus on the good pages. Because its time is limited, it might focus on the wrong pages and miss the good stuff out, and it won't crawl and index that. So we can control that stage. And then it decides initially whether to index you or not. We can impact that decision too. So we can make sure our content is in-depth, useful, it's not duplicating any other website, it's original, and the page is loading relatively quickly. So a lot of elements like that will impact the indexation stage. So that's, again, a mixture of technical SEO and on-page SEO. And then we've got the algorithm stage, where Google's deciding whether to, if someone searched for a topic that you talk about, it's deciding whether to serve your website versus a competitor's. Technical SEO wise, we can impact that again. If you remember the ranking signal list I showed you, page load speed, in-depth content, etc., backlinks, we can impact that with a lot of that list with technical SEO changes. how well does your website show on tablets and mobiles versus just desktop. And then the ranking stage. Again, there's a technical SEO element to this where Google's picked your website, great. It's now displaying you as a ranking result. But does it look good enough to entice people to click through? There are some technical SEO elements like adding code on the page to show your result in a certain format, like a quick answer to a question. We can add a aggregate review stars on product pages using technical SEO. We can also edit title tags and meta descriptions, which are essentially the clickable link, the headline of your search result, and the byline text, which is meta description, which goes into more detail. We can do that with automation in your content management system to populate these pages if you're a large e-commerce website using technical SEO as well. Here's a bit more homework then, just try and stay on track on technical SEO. It's my timer. So I mentioned earlier, one of the things to look at before May of this year is, because there'll be a Google algorithm update on what's called Core Web Vitals. I've added a link on there that you can download in the PDF, which explains what it is and how to make changes to get a favorable result with the algorithm. Essentially, what it comes down to is making sure your pages load quickly, ideally between 3 to 5 seconds or less if possible. 3 to 5 is quite realistic, especially for large websites. And to make sure while your pages are loading, how soon can a user interact with that page? So if a page takes particularly long to load, it's good to make sure that at least a user can click on a menu or click on a slider. If you've got a call to action button, which goes to a featured product page or something, make sure that a user can at least engage with the pages, or make sure that all the loading stuff is happening in the background so the user doesn't see it. So there's different ways that you can impact this Core Web Vitals update. Other areas to look at are duplicate content, missing title and meta tags, and a large amount of code in the back end that's stopping Google from seeing key content. Slow loading pages, as I said, how well the page loads on mobile versus tablet and desktop, and thin content, which is pages that have little to no content on them, which Google will see as not being a useful page to serve someone searching for that page. There's a lot of other technical issues that I could go into if you've got further questions. So yeah, I've listed some links there. That's a further reading. And that, I believe, is the last. Oh, hello. Sorry, I am skipping a bit. Apologies. This will have to be a bit of homework because I'm going over, but I will go over this. I was going to skip over this anyway because there's quite a lot, so this is something to take away. Assuming we've worked on on-page, off-page, and technical SEO, the next job is to monitor the progress of your SEO. So the main areas to look at are keyword rankings or visibility score, which we do in our campaigns using a tool called SEO Monitor. There are other popular tools like SEMrush and other tools that I'm literally blanking on. But this is a really good, affordable, and powerful tool that we use. We will track a list of keywords and how well they're ranking on this tool. And then we will also look at how well these keywords are contributing towards conversions or sales. We will then use Google Analytics to track organic traffic, engagement, and conversions, and monitor backlink progress in tools like Ahrefs. So I will just skip over that last slide and say thanks. And again, apologies for I don't know what's happened with the format in there, but yeah, you can ask me questions. I'll answer them in this while the other talks are going on. And you can email me at sukh@anicca.co.uk. Cheers.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! It wouldn't be a virtual conference without something technical going wrong.
I know. At least we got that out of the way.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Sukh. As